We travel not to temples or tombs, but to concrete. 2 walls of faded whitewash, 2 stairwells that smell of cabbage and coal dust, 2 windows that never quite close, and radiators that only half work. This is the Soviet apartment block, a place once envisioned as the beating heart of a new, classless world. Efficient, equal, pure. But behind those walls, life was rarely pure, rarely fair, rarely quiet. This is not a story of revolution. It's a story of routine, of daily compromise, of finding privacy in a place where walls were thin and secrets thinner. The door is thin, made of wood, sometimes covered in brown vinyl. It creaks, then sticks, then opens. You step into a hallway, dim cool, smelling faintly of floor polish and boiled potatoes. This is your Khrushchyovka, the 5-story Soviet apartment block that housed millions. It was born from necessity. After the war, the Soviet Union faced a housing crisis. Too many people, too few homes. So in the late 1950s, under Nikita Khrushchev, a solution was rolled out, standardized, prefabricated, assembled in days, not months. Housing for the proletariat. Dignity in concrete form. But dignity has a strange taste when it's shared. Your apartment is small, just over 30 square meters. 2 rooms, a kitchen, a bathroom if you're lucky. Many early models had shared toilets in the hallway, 1 per floor. You bring your own paper. The walls are thin. You hear your neighbor cough. You hear the clink of her spoon against her teacup. You hear arguments, singing, silence. Privacy is a luxury that does not fit in these rooms. The floors are linoleum, curled at the corners. The ceiling low. The heat uneven. Hot in the summer, cold in the winter. Hot water, intermittent at best. You boil it on the stove in a dented kettle, sometimes just to bathe, sometimes just to breathe. Furniture is often statued, a folding bed, a table with legs that wobble, curtains, if you manage to trade for them, bookshelves with fading ins, a rug hung on the wall to trap the cold. The refrigerator hums, the light flickers, the radio whispers a patriotic march as you sip weak tea. This is home. Outside the building, children play in the courtyard, not grass, but packed earth, a rusting swing, a wooden bench, a stray dog asleep in the shade of a larder. Your neighbor waves from the balcony. You don't know her name, but you know when she cooks cabbage, when her son cries, when her husband comes home late, because the walls tell you everything. Sometimes you escape to the stairwell, to smoke, to breathe. You see a flickering bulb above, a spiderweb in the corner, a poster of Lenin, yellowing at the edges, still watching. And yet, there is comfort here, too, a kind of unity, a rhythm, a resilience. You learn to live close, to whisper when needed, to knock gently, to accept what is. You learn to share, and somehow, in these walls that crumble at the edges, you find space for yourself. Now, let us leave the narrow rooms and shared kitchens. Let us step into the quiet corridors of laboratories, of libraries, of closed doors and brilliant minds. Let us meet Andrei Sakharov, a man of silence, of precision, of conscience. He was born in 1921, in Moscow, to a teacher and a pianist. As a boy, he read Jules Verne. He solved problems others could not. He built radios when radios were rare, and he asked questions, not loudly, but deeply. By the 1940s, he was among the most promising physicists in the Soviet Union. The war changed everything. The arms race began. The atomic age arrived, and Sakharov was chosen. He was brought into the top-secret Soviet nuclear program, isolated, funded, respected. He worked on thermonuclear bombs. His mind helped make the most powerful weapon ever built on Soviet soil. His work brought him honor, stature, and regret. In the quiet of his mind, he began to fear what he had made. He saw the scale, the implications, and he began to think about human rights, the right to live without fear, without silence. In 1968, he wrote an essay, Reflections on Progress, Peaceful Coexistence, and Intellectual Freedom. It circulated secretly, then was published abroad. He called for freedom of thought, for international cooperation, for ethical responsibility. He became, quietly, a dissident. The state responded swiftly. He was stripped of honors, surveilled, isolated, but not silenced. In 1975, He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He was not allowed to leave the USSR to accept it. His wife, Yelena Barna, a fierce defender in her own right, went in his place. By the 1980s, his actions and writings had grown bolder. He protested the war in Afghanistan. He denounced political repression. He defended other In 1980, he was exiled internally to the city of Gorky, closed to foreigners, far from Moscow. He and his wife were kept under surveillance, denied phone calls, denied travel, denied medical care. But still, he wrote. From a small apartment, under constant watch, he continued to speak. Softly, persistently. He was a scientist, but more than that, he was a humanist. A man who had helped build destruction and then chose to build truth. In 1986, under Gorbachev's reforms, he was allowed to return to Moscow, old, tired, but unbroken. He entered politics, continued to advocate, spoke against censorship, spoke for memory. He died in 1989, in his sleep, a quiet end for a quiet man. His legacy, a paradox of progress, brilliance, and burden. In the halls of Soviet science, his shadow remains, not as a builder of bombs, but as a keeper of questions, of conscience, of calm resistance. Now let us go deeper beneath the apartments, beneath the streets, beneath even the metro that millions ride each day. We descend into shadow, into rumor, into the quiet hum of a system that may or may not exist. This is the whispered world of Metro 2. To most Muscovites, the Moscow metro is already a marvel. Marble columns, chandeliers, tiled murals of workers, soldiers, and space. But somewhere below that splendor, beneath the official map, rumors speak of something more. A second system, hidden, restricted, real, perhaps. Metro 2 is the unofficial name for what some believe is a secret subway line built for the Soviet elite. A network of tunnels connecting the Kremlin to bunkers, airports, and command centers. Its stations unmarked, its entrances unlisted. Stories of it first emerged from defectors and former engineers. One claimed he saw it as a silent train gliding on deeper tracks, with no passengers visible. Another spoke of doorways in military academies sealed with steel that led to stairways that descended farther than they should, and then stopped speaking. Officially, the government denies its existence. Unofficially, they say nothing, but clues remain. Blueprints archived quietly in forgotten drawers, old elevator shafts sealed with concrete, hinges where no door should be, a ventilation grill that hums when no train should be running. During the Cold War, civil defense was paramount. The fear of nuclear war led the Soviet Union to plan for survival beneath the ground. Bunkers were built, some massive, capable of housing hundreds. One such space, beneath Tagonskaya, now functions as a museum. It was once a command post, but connected by what? Some say, by Metro 2. The legend says there were 4 main lines, code-named D6, D1, and more. Some connect to government buildings, others to research facilities, others to nothing at all. Or perhaps, 2 places no one will admit still exist. The idea isn't far-fetched. Many capitals have secret tunnels. Washington, London, Beijing. But in Moscow, the myth is persistent, felt in every whispering corridor where guards do not smile. Occasionally, photographers and explorers catch glimpses. They find rail ties that diverge from known maps, doors beneath university basements, strange echoes in walls that should be solid, but no proof, not real proof, only stories. And maybe that's enough, because what matters is not the certainty, but the silence. What matters is the idea that beneath a city of rigid control, of ideology, of surveillance, there might lie a second city, hidden, prepared, waiting, in a regime built on laws, ideological, institutional, personal. Perhaps it is only fitting that the deepest layer cannot be seen at all. Let us rise now, from the silence beneath the streets, to another kind of silence. A silence not of concrete, but of velvet, of imported wood, of closed doors, and quiet power. This is the world of the Soviet elite. A world few spoke of, but many noticed. A world hidden in plain sight. The Soviet Union was founded on equality, on the end of class, of excess, of privilege. But soon, new privileges grew, not declared, not advertised, but real, if you held the right position. In the party, the KGB, the military, or the inner circle of industry. Then your world was different. You lived in a better apartment block, perhaps near the Arbat, or in the Stalin skyscrapers that pierced the skyline, marble staircases, secure entrances, reliable plumbing, real hot water, sometimes even a phone. Your children went to special schools with smaller classes, better teachers, more books. You shopped at closed stores called Beryaska or GUN, to places with imported goods, paid for not in rubles but in hard currency or special coupons. Canned pineapple from Cuba, toothpaste from West Germany, denim from Yugoslavia, caviar, French perfume. While the average citizen queued for hours for bread or cabbage, you simply presented your access card and walked inside. At your dacha, a country home often provided by the state, you had space, trees, a sauna, a garden if you wished. There were retreats near the Black Sea, villas near Sochi, sanitariums in Crimea, with staff and mineral bath. You arrived discreetly, often driven, no lines, no lectures, only rest. And yet, this luxury came quietly. No gold watches, no flashy cars, just the subtle signs. Good shoes, a softer coat, a glass of real wine at a quiet dinner. Everyone noticed, but no one named it. Even within the elite, there were levels. A mid-tier apparatchik might have a bigger flat, but a Politburo member had chauffeurs, private doctors, and meals cooked by chefs trained in France before the revolution. Still, they never fully escaped the system. Even the elite were watched, their phones tapped, their neighbors suspicious. One wrong word, one misstep, and the privileges could vanish. Power, in the Soviet Union, was a closed circuit, bright but dangerous. Yet, from the outside, this class lived well. They vacationed while others worked. They ate when others rationed. They had access to what the Soviet citizen was told did not matter. And they had it all behind the veil of proletarian equality. This was the quiet contradiction of Soviet life. An empire of sameness with secret keys to locked doors. A state without aristocracy, and yet with castles of bureaucracy. A system for the people, except for the few. And so while millions heated water on stoves, wore the same grey coats, and queued for hours for shoes, a few sat in paneled rooms, drinking Turkish coffee, surrounded by silence. The silence of comfort, of control, of a utopia contained within 30 square meters. For someone else, tonight you wandered through the corridors of Soviet life. Not the front lines, not the revolutions, but the rooms, the apartments, the people. From cold water flats to marble dock, from exile to whispered tunnels, from rationed sugar to quiet privilege. The Soviet Union is gone. Its monuments remain, its myths remain, and its walls remain, some still standing, some crumbled, some never acknowledged. But through it all, ordinary people endured, adapted, whispered, dreamed.